I don't believe in the glass ceiling whatsoever. I think at the moment I'm more inclined to talk about the glass slipper, and the glass slipper is for anyone who seems fit to fit that slipper, whether it's a boy or a girl.
A warm welcome to our brand new series of Inspiring Women Leaders with me, Ebere Akadiri. It's great to have you with us. Today, I am joined by Marguerite Soeteman Reijnen. She is a trailblazer in the insurance industry. She was the first chief brokerage officer for Europe, Middle East, and Africa at Aon Risk Services and the first female chairman of the Dutch Reinsurance Association. She is now chairman of the executive board of Aon and the global chief marketing officer at Aon Inpoint. She is also the chair of Top Vrouwen, a national initiative that advocates for a larger representation of women in Dutch boardroom. Marguerite is indeed a trailblazer, and I am thrilled to have her. Marguerite, thank you so much for being here. I'm so thrilled to have you here. The first time we met was at the Reijnen Summit last year, and you thrilled everybody. Everybody was so inspired by your speech, and I was so inspired as well. So it's really a pleasure to have you here with me.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm going to start by asking about your personal story. How have you gotten to where you are today in your leadership position?
So thank you, Ebere, for inviting me to be here with you today. A special day because it's Ebere's birthday. So happy birthday.
Thank you so much.
So my story actually has started, I'm the eldest in a family of 4. And my parents always made sure that both my sister and my 2 brothers, that we were raised to use not only our own potential for our own good, but also for any other people. So we've been raised in a very social context of making sure you not only arrange good for yourself, but also good for others. And that's a very important backbone, besides the fact that they wanted to make sure that we used our potential anyhow. So, you know, if you have talent, make sure you use it, otherwise it's so spoiled. I was raised in the south of Holland, so education was an important part of our family. My mom was a teacher, my dad was an engineer, and so going to the stages of after high school to university and then to work, I was always, you know, it was always an awareness in my back mind of, you know, make sure you use your potential. So when I started working at Aon, which I worked for 30 years in a few weeks' time, amazing, that's always been in the back of my mind. And so in a positive sense, you know, there have also been challenges, but there have always been lots of opportunities. I think that's the most important, you know, make sure that you take whatever is being offered, and if you don't get it offered, create it for yourself. Use your own potential, and you should be the master of your own destiny.
Did you always know where you wanted to be?
No, definitely not. No, no, that would have been something. No, I did it by failing. So there are some things which you then experience, and then it doesn't work out the way it is, and then you continue and show perseverance. I think that I've always looked at the positive end of situations, even though they might have been bad or disappointing. But you know, taking a look, what can you learn from it? And I think the worst experiences in your life are the best teachers for the future and the best masters for the future.
Yeah, okay, that's very good.
Yeah.
But can you tell us a little bit about those experiences? Like, what has been the most vulnerable moment of your life or in your career?
No, yeah, I think that personally, you know, we're living very much in a time where everybody thinks that they can influence everything, or at least, you know. But it's clear, and it's especially clear now, while we're living in the times where the coronavirus is happening around the world, that health is something which you can influence to a certain extent. So, and back to your question, I've also experienced a situation where health was not at my side. And so, understanding, you know, the impact of what in the ancient Roman time they said mens sana in corpore sano, which is a healthy mind and a healthy body, is extremely important. So, you know, I think that more and more we are going to see that, and this is what we discussed also during your Rise and Lead Summit, that it's not only about financial well-being, not only about physical well-being, but also about mental well-being. Yes. So I think that more and more attention is being paid to those three elements of being well.
Yes. Okay. Well, you mentioned something very profound, which is a kind of a leadership trait. And I always tell the Rise and Lead women that for you, when you're building your leadership, you need to be self-aware, which you already mentioned, knowing your strengths, how you want to be perceived. But I would like to know, what is your leadership style and how did you find out about it?
Yeah, so I think that my leadership style is one which is, I'm very close to myself.
Okay.
So what does it mean? That I'm not pretending to be someone else. I'm pretty extrovert. I'm very passionate about things I believe in. And so I think I'm very interested in other people. So if you look at how to create trust, it's important to know what you're talking about, which for me is a given. If you don't know what you're talking about, you should maybe not speak at all or ask questions. But if you want to create trust, you need to know what you're talking about. You need to be authentic, which is being close to yourself, and you need to have empathy for people. And I think that the empathy element for people is really important.
For those who are watching us, some of them may have struggled with finding a mentor or support to help them, in their career journey. Did you ever receive any form of support or mentoring as you moved along?
Yeah, so I think it's really important that you find people who you can confide the good stories in, but also the bad stories, who can give you some advice. I think the most important what you can get is advice from other people and different perspectives to different situations. And that's and that maybe sometimes also that you might hear things which you don't want to hear, but then take it in and make the best of it. Okay. So mentoring is important, but also not only in the formal sense, which can be in a business, but also make sure that you have some friends who surround you, who can give you some practical insights or you can share some opinions with. And don't only look for those friends, but also be a friend like that yourself. I think that's important.
That's so powerful. Yeah. Be a friend yourself. The last time I was with you, you mentioned to me that you are meeting one of your mentees, which means obviously you're mentoring other women, right?
Correct, I do.
So what do you look out for before you commit to such a mentoring relationship with any person?
I think what's most important that the intent of the person who wants to be mentored is actually that he or she, could be he as well, that he wants to learn. So I think it's really important that you're able to adapt to change, that you're adapt to to other ways of thinking, other ways of opinion. So diversity of thought and opinion and openness to that is really important. That's for me the most important factor. If I sit in front of someone who simply says, I know it all, I've been there and I know how to do it myself, then you don't need mentoring. Because that's not the way you should enter a mentoring relationship. You should have an open mindset and you should be open for criticism as well as good things to be reiterated. Yeah.
And what about formal training? For those who want to be leaders, do you advise that they get any form of training on how to lead?
Yeah, so on the leadership, I think that leadership for me is something which you can't call upon yourself. It's something which other people call on you. So you're either a leader who wants to be followed because people want to follow you. So I'm very, very outspoken about this, because if you call yourself a leader, if I call myself a leader and I'm completely alone, then I'm leading myself, which might be good as well. But the point is you're not leading for a bigger group or for a bigger purpose. So I think that leadership is for me that you're set to go to a certain point at the horizon. You have a certain ambition. And the way to take people along is where leadership is being defined. Are you able to have followers, or are people actually leading you? So for me, leadership is something which, back to your question, can you learn it? It's something which is should be intrinsically actually somewhere in yourself. To be a leader is something you should also, be the first sheep on what we say in Dutch, het eerste schaap over de dam. You need to be able to take a position while others might look at you like, what's going on here? And so, back to the learning of the question, I think that of course there are some elements of leadership which you can learn, which are knowing what you talk about, getting different perspectives, knowing how to act and react in certain situations, be cultural more savvy, that you know how other cultures react to certain situations, things like that.
Okay. And this month of March, we are celebrating the International Women's Day, and everybody is still talking about equality, diversity, having more women on boards. So tell me, what do you think? What do you see that is causing the lack of diversity on top, on top leadership? Why are women not rising to the top?
So, as we speak, the Socio-Economic Council's advice has been adopted by both our parliament as well as our government. So we'll see a law coming up in the Netherlands in the next month. It's actually being worked upon as we speak. The law will actually enable the stock-listed companies to appoint, the women on boards. They have to. On the other hand, it also enables them to think more strategically about what actually diversity and inclusion actually means, because it's important to have not only, the appointment of women on boards, it's important to actually have a strategy in place. So that's what's happening on that end. On the other hand, if you look at the Netherlands as such, it's still very culturally conservative. What do I mean with that? Already from early days on, you see that girls are being taught how to be a girl and boys are being taught how to be a boy. And it's interesting to watch young women still reading fairy tales, and I love fairy tales myself very, very much to kids. But some of the fairy tales are not what I expect a modern woman to be about. So Snow White is one of those fairy tales, where the thing that Snow White, that any modern woman would like to take care of 7 dirty dwarfs. No. While, exactly, maybe the witch with the apple was kind of a blessing in disguise. No, the point I'm trying to make is be aware of those unconscious biases already from a very young age, which do play a role in the way you educate a complete generation about who they want to be. Okay. And it's important to become, in that respect, a little bit more conscious about those little things which already influence from a very young age women. And the other one, which I've also raised in other instances, is the fact there is a research from David Miller. And it's called Draw a Scientist. And it's interesting to watch that really, and wherever you go, whatever country, until the age of 10, girls and boys both draw their own, girls draw a female doctor and boys draw a male doctor. Oh, yes. Whenever the girls turn 10, it changes and they actually start drawing a male doctor. And it's the mindset, the bias which is being created by seeing doctors being male. Yeah. Now, those things are, of course, changing as we speak. You do see more gender equality coming up. Yes. But it's all important to be aware of those situations.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And what can women do to take these matters into their hands to change this situation?
No, yeah, fairy tales are actually done by storytelling. It's very important. So you can influence the fairy tales yourself to start telling in a more gender-neutral way. So
we have to hold storytellers accountable as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that in addition, it's also about setting the stage yourself. That when you talk to your children about being a certain profession, that you make them aware that everything is possible. So I don't believe in the glass ceiling whatsoever. So people ask me about the glass ceilings, and for me it's never been existing. I think it's something which man put on us actually. Yes, yes. To address why we couldn't reach the top. I think at the moment I'm more inclined to talk about the glass slipper, and the glass slipper is for anyone who seems fit to fit that slipper, whether it's a boy or a girl.
Just go for it.
Exactly.
Oh, that's very good. I love this concept. And of course, watching you during the summit, you're such a very vibrant, bold leader, and I admire you a lot. Mm-hmm. So tell me, how did you develop this sort of leadership confidence and voice? Yeah,
so it's about, it's also about, first and foremost, are you able to tell within 1 minute who you are, what you're about? So that you're able, that you know yourself. So knowing yourself is an important element of it. And second, also take the stage. If you're not visible, and this is also what Topvrouw has done, as you know, we've made a lot of those very, very capable women more visible, yes. Which is something other people can do for you, but also you can do it yourself. So I think what's important is that if you take a look at the power of social media and how you can actually spread your own message and your own content, it's something more women should actually pick up and then really spread your own content. So don't only spread the content of others, but start giving your own insights. What do you think of a certain story? Why do you post it? What's keeping you busy? Why do you actually have a certain story about it?
That's so powerful. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. You use social media a lot. I follow you.
Yeah.
And there's something you posted recently. You said Tina Turner, correct, you wish that she's a role model every woman should follow. What does that mean?
So I think that if you look at, so many people know Tina Turner for all the fabulous songs she has sung, but not many people know her life story, which has been quite an interesting one. So I didn't know myself before I went to see that musical, yes, which is perfect, so go and see it. And really fun, yes, and extremely joyful. She's had a very tough life by, she was harassed by her husband. Then she actually had to overcome segregation in the US, and she only really became a superstar on her own, at her own merit, when she actually moved from the US to the UK. Because in the US segregation played a very negative role to her career. And when she moved to the UK, and I didn't know this myself, this was one of the elements I enjoyed, was that she was actually discovered by members of Heaven 17. Okay. And my generation knows the song Temptation, I don't know what which is one of, the groups at the time in the 80s, which with the electronic synthesizer, etc. And it's quite interesting to see some of those elements. So back to her being a powerful lady, she actually failed. She actually has, she has fallen. She stepped down. She's been, showing a lot of perseverance to get where she wanted to be. And so I'm very impressed by a musical which tells a story, which also really addresses, she was beaten up by her husband. So it's a sad story, but also a very positive story around how you can get where you want to be if you persevere and keep on the good spirits.
So in essence, you're advising our audience watching or listening to go out there. They shouldn't stay down forever. They should get up again and try again and persevere until they get what they want.
And I've always said you're the master of your own destiny, so keep it very close to yourself. Don't pretend to be someone else. It's also something we always say, you should behave in a different manner. No, you should behave the way you feel comfortable. If you're in your strength, people will feel you're in your strength. If you're in your maybe weaker position, people will also feel like there's something not making sense. So go and sit in your strength. Be willing to learn. I think that's really important. So do adapt to situations where you feel like you can learn something, and surround yourself with extremely good people who can help you grow.
Powerful, powerful. Thank you so much. And Marguerite, can you tell our audience about Topvrouwen? And for those who don't understand Dutch, Topvrouwen means women leaders, right?
Yeah, so it's the corporate. So Topvrouw was actually initiated in 2016, and its initiative were following comments that there weren't enough female board-ready women in the Netherlands. We actually started a database and actually made them visible. So there are over 2,000 board-ready women in that database. And Topvrouwen also organize speed dates and network meetings where we meet, and it's not only so we meet with men, so we don't only meet with women, but we meet both also with the board members from corporates and listed companies, so that we actually increase the exchange of experience between board-ready women and men who are already on boards.
Okay, and for our audience who wants to be on board, how can they get involved?
Yeah, so if they're interested, then please contact topvrouwen.nl, and then we will take it from there.
That's good. And I'm not going to finish this interview without asking about self-care. And for our audience who were not at the summit, can you tell us more about self-care and how do you accomplish it as a leader?
Yeah, so self-care is important. I already mentioned mens sana in corpore sano, which is one of the ancient Roman sayings. And it's about having a healthy mind and a healthy body. And so it means that, give people the best of you instead of the rest of you. And so self-care means that you're able to give the best of you. Yes. Which means also that you should take very good care of your own health and make sure that, that you're physically fit. So I do go to the fitness twice a week. So do make sure that you have a balance in place around, your physical well-being, your mental well-being, and that will also enable financial well-being if you do it like that.
Thank you so much. Thanks for that tip because it's saving me right now. I'm observing it very personally. And I would like to end by asking you, looking back, what 3 pieces of advice do you have for your younger self?
So the first one is that believe in yourself, because if you don't believe in yourself, no one else will. The second one is you're the master of your own destiny. So, take a look which destiny you would like to achieve or where you would like to go, and then, start, connecting the dots to get there. And the last one is I'm a heavily believer in people. So also connect with the right people at the right moments in your life and give them faith and trust, and then trust will be your friend as well.
Thank you so much, Marguerite. I'm really happy that you could join us. And for those of us who are watching or listening, you have listened to her great tips. I hope you are inspired to take your leadership to the next level. Thank you and bye for now.